Good morning, everybody. This is kind of a book review and sort of a reminder product review. I wanted to talk about, and this has to do with chickens. We always have to intersperse chickens in here, you know. Gotta get some really happy stuff in there. You know, there's a lot of good reference books on raising chickens. Some are more geared to commercially raising them. Some are more geared to people who want to keep them at arm's length. Which is commercial, but there is a book that I had mentioned at one time, and I couldn't, I don't know, I think I got the name of it wrong. I did link to it in the description box of whatever that video was. I can't remember what the video was now, but I think it was probably Why Are My Chickens Not Laying? I think it was that last video, if I remember right, that I linked a few books in. I've had some nice reference books on chickens, and I keep them in my library. I don't really need to refer to them anymore. But everybody should always have that, so in case something happens to you and somebody who doesn't know that much about chickens has to take care of your birds, you know. You may be the expert, but maybe they're not. So I wanted to talk about this book, Raising Chickens for Dummies. Now, let me see if I get the glare off of here. Woo! Kind of glary. I got a window back here. This is the first edition. The second edition has a little bit different front cover, but it's similar enough. This is part of the, you know, doing whatever for dummies books, you know. It's not for dummies. It's just basically for newbies, for neophytes, people who don't know anything. So this is a very comprehensive book. It was written by Kimberly Willis and co-authored by my friend Rob Ludlow, who was kind of my boss for a time. He is the owner of backyardchickens.com, who is the largest chicken forum on the internet, the most comprehensive chicken forum on the internet. See, he sent me my signed copy when it first came out. It's a really excellent book. It has everything you would ever need to know. Now, I can't go over everything in this book because this book is quite comprehensive. It has a nice index in the back. It's 300 and something. Let me see how many pages without the index. Without the index, it's 370 pages. It's a nice paperback, nice sturdy paperback. It has a lot of illustrations. It's not color, but it has a lot of illustrations. And at the beginning of a lot of the chapters, it'll have a humorous cartoon. And there's handling health problems, choosing which kind of chicken breeds that you want, where to get them, the differences in them, what to look for in assessing health of a chicken, although you can't always see everything on the outside that tells you what you need to know. Choosing this, you know, knowing the sex of your chicken, housing for them, portable housing, static housing. I don't know if you can even see that. I hope you can. I'm not sure you can. There you go. Now there's a focus. See there? Some very nice pencil drawings. The difference between raising laying hens and meat birds, how to process meat birds, how to incubate chicks, how to raise chicks, symptoms of illness in your chicks and in your adults, how to trim long nails. You know, they have to, when they have toenails, and sometimes the toenails get out of hand, especially on, say, the older birds, or the ones who don't dust bathe much or don't get outside as much because they have some kind of issue, and their nails tend to get very long. Even their beaks will get, the top beak, the curve of the beak will get extra long, and they have a hard time eating, and you'll have to trim their beak. I had to do that with Zane, my crippled rooster, all the time. I had to do that often with Neela and Alice when they got very crippled in their old age. Well, Neela did. And it's just an amazing book, a very comprehensive book. The last chapters, the part of tens, it's kind of like a summary of all the subjects. I thought, did you take my 10 speckled hens 10 commandments of good flock management, Rob? Just kidding. But there's this cartoon on this chapter sounds like me. I have to show you this cartoon, okay? Let me see if you can see this cartoon. See if you can see that. It's a realtor showing how a house, and the chicken house is attached to the house. And It's huge. It says, before we go in, let me ask you a question. Do you like chickens? And what's funny is, I made me laugh because my house is a square house. It's like 32 by 34. And the barn that we built is 20 by 24. So like the barn is 2/3 the size of my house, or 3/4 the size of my house. I didn't do the actual math, but it's a huge barn. And it's square, just like my house. That just made me laugh because that's us. It says more than 10 tips for keeping healthy, stress-free chickens. And to summarize, it says choose the right breeds, set up suitable housing, supplement lighting when needed, control pests, protect against predators, control parasites, feed a well-balanced diet, blah, blah, blah. It keeps going on and on. Now, that's the next to last chapter, sorry. There is one section I disagree with. Now, if I wrote my own book, I would write this chapter differently. And it is a chapter about vaccination for your chickens. And I have an entirely different take on that. Now, I'm not dissing this book. This is an excellent book. This particular subject, though, has a lot of disagreement on it. And I know you probably know what side I fall on. And I've talked about vaccination for chickens. And why, especially the vaccination for Marek's disease. A lot of these other diseases are not common, like laryngotracheitis. You do not want to vaccinate for that ever, because you will give them that for sure. That is if you have that in your flock, you should be culling those birds. And there are a lot of fowl cholera and other things that you really don't need to vaccinate for. Even fowl pox, you don't need to. Dry pox is something carried by mosquitoes, and that is one of those things that they'll get these little lesions all over their face, little dry, warty looking things, and they dry up, and they're immune from then on. That's one of those things that doesn't make them carriers, they're just immune. It's called fowl pox. And you can put iodine on the lesions to help them dry up faster if you want to, but you don't have to. So there's a lot of vaccinations that I feel are not necessary, like the vaccination for coccidiosis that you can get at the hatchery, that kind of thing. But one thing I don't agree with, it says preventing problems is always better than trying to fix them. That is true. But see, their take on how you prevent some of these problems is different than my take on that. Same with humans, right? They talk about you have the opportunity to have them vaccinated for an additional fee when you purchase chicks from a hatchery. That is true. And it's very difficult if you buy direct from a feed store to get them not vaccinated, because most of them nowadays order them from the hatchery vaccinated when they get there. So when you buy the chicks from the feed store, you need to ask, are these vaccinated for Marek's? It took me 3 feed stores before I found one that did not, and that was owned by a veterinarian who said, we don't need to. There's not a problem in this area for Marek's disease. It's not a problem. If it was a problem, I still wouldn't. It talks about that there are vaccines to prevent diseases and that flock owners can administer them. Well, the problem with that is, say, the thing for Marek's disease, that is not the same as the hatchery. It has to be stored at 70 below zero, and you can't do that, neither can the feed store. And so the vaccine that's commercially available for consumers is not the same thing as the hatcheries. And according to veterinarians who tell you the truth, neither of them does any good. It does not prevent the disease. It only masks the symptoms like paralysis and tumors. It can leave them carriers where they can shed the virus to other chickens. That's why when you begin vaccinating chickens for Marek's disease in a flock, you can never stop. You have to always do it. Every time a new one comes in, has to have that jab. So you see the correlation between what's going on now and this Marek's disease vaccination. But nevertheless, I do not agree with that part in this book. But this is an excellent book. You have to make your own decisions about that, just like everything else. I keep saying everybody should be free to make their decisions, and just know that if you start vaccinating for this and that, like something like Marek's disease, you have to continue. You can never stop. You can't have a new group of unvaccinated chickens if you have an older group of vaccinated chickens, because you will probably find Marek's in your flock, and you got a problem. I mean, with the symptoms and everything. So I would say this. Here's the back of it. Let me show you. See if you can see that. And I don't know if the back on the new edition is better. I think it's got a second edition. This is the first, like I said, the original, because Rob sent me an autographed copy when it came out. It's an excellent book, so I would highly recommend that as getting as part of your chicken arsenal. This, it's a really sturdy paperback. I've opened this and done a lot with this, and it's holding together really nicely. So that's my recommendation for a chicken reference book for you. And right now, let me tell you a product. I want to remind you about a product too. And I'm using it right now because my the Dirty Dozen Plus One are now 35 weeks old today. And they are molting. Now the first big molt in a chicken is usually 18 to 20 months old. These are 35 weeks old, so they're 8 months old. Normally at around 9 months old, there is what I call a mini molt. And sometimes you don't even notice it. Sometimes they just lose a few feathers. It's in getting their truly adult plumage. You may not even notice it. Some birds are highly affected by it. They will stop laying. Some will lose weight. Some will lose a lot of feathers. Right now, I have 9 girls. Oh gosh, what's that? I have 9 girls in that, and lipstick bleeding everywhere. I have 9 girls in that, what you call it? That flock, that small flock. And of the 9, only 2 Easter eggers have been laying. Cricket's broody, so of course she's not laying. Luna and Bee have been molting like crazy. My husband tells me there's feathers everywhere. White splash feathers everywhere. So they tell me that they have been molting, and he says there's just nothing. There's feathers. And so yesterday we got 3 eggs from them, or the day before we got 3 eggs instead of 2. It's been 2 for the longest time from that group, and that is literally all that I'm getting from my entire flock, all the flocks together, because they're so old. But 2 days ago we got 3, so someone I think is starting to come back into lay. But in the meantime, because of that and because of the cold weather, and even my 14-year-old June is molting badly, I have begun throwing them a little bit of this, this Grubterra black soldier fly larva to up their protein and nutrition. Grubterra sent me another bag, and how did they know? How did they know I needed this right now? How did they know? She said, would you like to, have another bag? And I thought, yeah, sure. I don't know if you remember when I first reviewed this product, I had a Delaware Barred Rock Cross, Wendy, who was dying, and she wouldn't eat. Should have got my water. She would not eat. And hang on just a second. Sorry, I was choking. Dry throat. I haven't had a lot of water today. Okay, Wendy. When she was dying, she wouldn't eat. And the one thing I hate is the birds that are off their feed, and I don't like them being hungry and thirsty, and I want to make sure they at least get a little bit of nutrition. And Wendy wouldn't eat. But that was about the time that Grubterra approached me about their black soldier fly larva, and I sprinkled some in. Now it perked her up. She actually got some good nutrition in her last few days because of this product. Black soldier fly larva, I think, has more protein, has 75% more 75 more times more calcium than mealworms, and it's actually a very green product. It says a pound of grub is 20 pounds of food waste saved from landfills. So they save the food waste and they grow the fly larva on the food waste, and that's how they do it. It's got a lot of good products at Grubterra. And it says a 16-ounce bag feeds up to 5 chickens a month. Depends on how much you give them, obviously. But at their recommended level. And it says the ingredients are just black soldier fly larva. There's no extra ingredients in here. And my chickens absolutely love it. farm raised, and so this would be something so I'm giving it to my teenagers right now who are molting a little, really for the first time, even though it's not the big molt, and to my elderly ones who are having a molt, and the molt is harder on them as they get older, especially a hard molt, and the weather being colder, and the weather's gone up and down here. It's crazy. So in the description box there will be a coupon code for you to get 10% off the entire website at GrubTerra. And yeah, so get you a bag of this. This is a good little bag. It's a good supplement. I'm trying to remember. I think this bag is normally like $12, and I think 10% off, so you get a little bit off at that. I highly recommend it. It really does help. Some of them, when you first get this, you put this down, they go, "What is that?" But they see other ones dive in. They know what they're looking at, and those influence the others to eat. So yeah, I think you should. This is an excellent product, and I'm definitely feeding it to my babies right now. So there you go. I'm sorry about this nasty green sweatshirt. I put on a sweatshirt this morning, and it's really, I put this thing on and I went, whoa, this thing is huge since last winter. I lost so much weight that half my clothes are a size and a half too big. Some 2 sizes too big because they were kind of big to start with. Anyway, so there you go. Book review, Raising Chickens for Dummies by Kimberly Willis and Rob Ludlow. That would be an excellent one to have in your library. I think it's 2nd edition now. I don't think it's 3rd. I think it's 2nd edition. And the GrubTerra. Good product this time of year, especially. If you got a bunch of molting birds, that's even better than mealworms. So I'm going to go, and you guys have a good day, and I'll catch y'all later. Bye.